The next time you go outside to your garden, stay alert because there could be something rather nasty lurking right under your nose. We're referring to a tiny brown bug that's a lot more trouble than its appearance would first suggest. So if you spot one, you really should take immediate action. Take it from us. What do you need to look out for then? Because we all know it's not always easy to identify certain insects. Well, in the case of this brown bug, it's both 6 legs and has a rounded body. The little critter has a pretty unique back as well, resembling that of an old shield. Plus, the fully grown brown insect can hit measurements of around 0.7 inches. Like we mentioned before, they are tiny, but they've also got wings, so you won't just see them lurking across the ground. Look on the bright side, that might make identifying them a bit easier. But a further word of caution, these brown bugs aren't just content with causing havoc in your garden. They can crop up in your house too. Yes, from the curtains to the cracks in your walls. The small insects can get everywhere if you're not too careful. And no one wants that, right? To be blunt, infestations suck. So you're probably wondering what these little critters are called. They are species named Heliomorpha halis, otherwise known as brown marmorated stink bug. Not the most flattering of monikers, isn't it? But given the problem they cause, they've no doubt heard worse from angry gardeners and homeowners. The brown marmorated stink bug isn't a native species to the Western world, though despite cropping up in countries like the United States and the United Kingdom, they originate from Asia in fact. And these insects once called Japan, Taiwan, China, and Korea home prior to branching out according to the website bestworld.org. You've guessed it right, the stink bug is an invasive species. But how did they manage to break out of Asia and spread across the globe? One expert had a suggestion of when the insect started to appear in the United Kingdom. His name is Max Barclay, and he runs the Cleopatra exhibit at the National History Museum. In Barclay's opinion, which he gave to The Guardian in March 2021, the stink bug probably made its way to Britain after hitching a ride on some overseas cargo shipments. Talk about an unwanted stowaway. Yet there is more to it than that. The critters wouldn't have just jumped aboard for the fun of it. So what was the catalyst? Well, stink bugs aren't active when the colder months roll out, Barclay told The Guardian. So they look to find a cozy place to hide until the temperature improves outside. This process is referred to as diapause. It's essentially a form of hibernation for the tiny insects, thus a container full of cargo would seem awfully snug. But there's a larger issue at play here. The stink bug thrive in hot environments, and as we continue to deal with climate change, they could take advantage. So if nations keep getting warmer year after year, that might open the door for the invasive species to become even bigger menace. And that fear was underlined when a group of specialists shared their research in the International Journal of Biometeorology in August 2020, because they were able to estimate that a sizable chunk of Switzerland could be perfect for the bugs at the return of 2100s. They reached that conclusion with the aid of a bioclimatic model package. One of the specialists working for the Center for Agriculture and Biosciences International, otherwise known as CABI, his name is Dr. Tim Hay, and he's an authority on all things stink bug. And Dr. Hay spoke to the CABI website in September 2020, sharing some of the key findings. Dr. Hay explained, there is strong evidence that climate change is already modifying species, geographical range, phenology, volcanism, and interactions. It is evident that the number of non-native species will increase and that the climate change will promote their establishment. The northwest part of Switzerland could become completely suitable for H. allis. Southwards, the projected range expansion would reach the foothills of the Alps, Dr. Hayes continued, and higher latitudes in the Alpine valleys could become suitable under future climate conditions. Monitoring the spread and population development in the northwestern part of Switzerland and higher altitudes of the valley in the south are recommended. Concerning stuff, wouldn't you agree? Sure, the 2100s are some way off yet, but that's not a reason to relax, because you only need to look at the situation in America. The speed of the stink bugs spread across the United States is no joke, proving that things can get out of hand in a hurry. So when did the stink bug turn up in the United States? Well, someone stumbled across the insect in the latter half of 1996, according to the bestworld.org. It was found in Allentown, Pennsylvania, but the confirmation of its identity didn't come for another 5 years. No one knew what it was. Thus, the stink bugs ran roughshod in the eastern part of the country, and they hit New Jersey and then went on to settle in Virginia in 2004, according to pestroll.org. Plus, in recent times, the insects have migrated to North Carolina too. Yet, that's just a fraction of their nationwide movements, because stink bugs have made themselves at home in, wait for it, 44 states. No, that's not a typo. And they've done that in just 25 years. Given the size of America, that's an incredible feat. Now we can't help but wonder how long until the final 6 join the list. Should that day come, those residents will quickly realize why Haliomorpha halis is known as a stink bug. Yes, the critters fire out a pungent scent if they feel they're in danger, similar to a skunk, and apparently the noxious fumes can cover a few inches of their surrounding space. But the scent itself resembles that of certain species and herbs, pestroll.org notes, specifically coriander and cilantro, so rather the spray of a skunk, but not the smell. Actually, The Guardian reported that the stench was closer to almonds. We rather not find out the true answer, frankly, if it meant agitating a stink bug. Yet you really shouldn't ignore these critters if you spot them in your yard, because their smell will be the least of your concerns. Stink bugs usually munch on garden plants and crops. They are big fans of veggies and fruit in particular. Want an idea of how destructive the stink bugs can be around these? Okay then, brace yourselves. The Guardian reported that an American lost nearly $40 million worth of apples to critters back in 2010. That's unbelievable, right? But just to be clear, they didn't eat all of those batches down to the core. Instead, the stink bugs left gnarly brown stains behind in the areas they munched on. Those apples, unsurprisingly, became useless, and the creatures do the same thing to all the other crops they target, like cucumbers or grapes. People in the United Kingdom are particularly concerned about the latter at present. Why grapes, you ask? Well, should a group of stink bugs invade a grape crop, their odor could ruin entire batches of wine. Given that the United Kingdom's wine businesses are on the rise right now, that's a terrifying thought, but it might affect you too, if you like to make your own at home. So that just makes you wonder, has anything been done to get rid of those stink bugs? Max Barclay shared some rather bleak news on the front while speaking to The Guardian in March 2001. According to him, there is no way to wipe out an invasive species like this one, drawing comparison to another insect in the United Kingdom. Barclay said, the stink bugs established themselves pretty quickly. We've seen this in a lot of invasive species before. You find one or two, then they're everywhere. The harlequin ladybird from China arrived in the United Kingdom in 2016, and now they are enormously abundant. Try not to worry though. Just because large-scale efforts to destroy the stink bug won't work, that doesn't mean you can't clear your garden of them. Because with a few clever tricks and effective methods, you should be able to protect your plants and crops from the pest. You can also shield your home as well, ensuring that they can't get in. To start with, check your yard for unwanted weeds, because stink bugs utilize these bits of greenery to conceal themselves in the yard. So tear them out of the soil and move anything else that could double as a hideaway. Decorations, ornaments, that kind of stuff. Now it's time to focus on your flowers. If stink bugs have made their presence known, you can create a repellent that'll soon clear them off. All you need is some kale and clay solution. That is the mineral form of clay, a couple gallons of water, and 15 millimeters of dish soap, says the website Garden Know-How. Stir them together and you're set. Then place the mixture into a spray bottle. Once you're ready, get squatting. Gardening Know-How claims that the stink bug won't munch on any flowers or crops they have been doused. Plus, it'll stop them dropping their eggs onto the fauna too. Sounds like a win to us. Don't worry, the mixture won't damage your flowers or any fruits or veggie you might be growing. Just sure to be run your garden hose over them when the stink bugs are gone. But if you're looking for a more lethal solution to the problem, you can always invest in a trap plant. No, we're not referring to a Venus flytrap. Normal plants can easily fill this role, depending on their color. You see, stink bugs are drawn to fauna with a yellow shade, so that could include the likes of mustard, garlic, or sunflowers. Got any of those? If so, listen up. Find an isolated spot in the garden that's nowhere near your beloved plants, then set a trap by planting them. The stink bug should flock to the colorful flower, leaving everything else behind. It's up to you what happens next. You could let the critters stay there, which will encourage other animals to pick them off, or you might want to dispose the plant once the stink bugs have moved in. To do that, just dig up the flower and put it into a rubbish sack. Don't throw that away though. Stick it in a position where the sun always beams down. The heat should kill them after a couple of days or so. As for your house though, it's a good idea to target any potential openings with a sealant because stink bug zone is on the gaps in the window and doors when they are trying to get in, according to pestworld.org. And given their small stature, it only has to be a tiny hole, so keep your eyes open should the stink bug manage to get in. However, don't fret, you can still take care of them. All you need is a hoover. Yes, there's nothing wrong with sucking the insects up, providing that you're dumping the sack once you're done. You really don't want that smell to stick around. So there you have it, folks. If your yard falls prey to stink bugs, these methods should go a long way to get rid of them. But that's got us thinking, where do these insects sit on the scale of the worst garden critters? Well, the UK's Royal Horticultural Society draws up an annual list covering this topic. The 2020 rankings included a mix of recognizable names and more obscure critters. For instance, the glasshouse mealy bug and capsid bug brought up 10th place. Then, a few entries later, ants came in 4th, yet the crown was awarded to snail and slugs, seeing off the challenge of the wine weevil. You heard us right, the stink bugs didn't make the cut this time around. But a leading insect expert at the RHS warned that they might become regular entrants in future lists if you're not too careful. His name is Andy Salisbury, and he went into more detail while speaking to the BBC News website in March 2021. Salisbury said, "With gardens taking on a more important role in supporting well-being in the environment, it's important that research into management and mitigation of them continues. And our rankings help inform this focus. It's also imperative that we continue to anticipate future threats such as the marmorated stink bug to protect our gardens. So we hope you're ready for the fight."